So when you place your order to code 504 for your S10 chassis conversion, these 4 boxes are what show up to your house about a month and a half later. I'm pretty sure they build them to order. They don't have them in stock. And on their website it does say it's a 5 to 6 week lead time, I believe. I ordered these back a few months ago, and I'm just now getting back around to working on this frame. I want to wrap it up and get it over to the paint shop for sandblasting and make it black. This whole chassis with all these parts is just going to be a satin black finish. Should look really good underneath that that first gen Chevy pickup truck. Hey, you got a packing list of box 4. Hey, there's the directions. Look in box 4 for your directions when you open up. Transmission cross mount. Driver's side out front cab. Oh, driver's outside front cab mount. Engine mount plate. Not really sure, but the directions tell. The running board mounts. These are really nice. As you can see, there's a whole lot involved with this kit. I spoke to the customer service and they said basically all you're using is the frame rails and everything else is getting replaced. I would agree with that. There's a lot of stuff in this kit. There's a lot of parts. I'm going to go review the directions that came in box number 4. It's inside the little box, inside the big box. So I'm going to read through all the directions, see what they say. Then I'm going to start cutting off parts of the old frame that I don't need. I'll go through and make sure all the parts are in the kit per the packing lists. Make sure all the parts are here so I don't run into a problem. And then we'll start putting this thing together. Lots of really nice parts. They all look to be laser cut, mandrel bent. Really nice parts. All the parts are actually labeled as to what they are, what their part number is, so you can identify them. Nice kit, code 504. I dig it. So if you haven't watched the first episode of this, where I dissected this 2000 Chevrolet S10, I'll do a little refresher. This frame is a regular cab long bed S10 chassis. Code 504 likes this because it is a 118-inch wheelbase, which is really within a half an inch of the 47 to 54 Chevy pickup truck. So it works out perfect for wheelbase. Basically you can use an 82 to 04 Chevrolet S10 or S15 two-wheel drive pickup truck. Very nice stuff from code 504. I'm impressed. I just opened these boxes. The directions are fully laid out. They're even laminated or they're in jackets, so your greasy fingers aren't going to make the directions illegible. All the parts are really nicely cut and formed. All the hardware is in a box. I'm impressed, Code 504. I think we're going to really like this product. Stay. So we have our entire frame stripped down, ready to start dissecting. Ready to start cutting off parts to get it ready for our Code 504 kit. I've taken some time and I've checked in all the parts from this kit. So we have a 10-foot long table here that's packed full of parts that are getting ready to go onto this frame member. All the hardware, the directions, all the components, new engine bushings, motor mounts, transmission mounts, all new cross members. It's a really nice kit. It's very well laid out, very easy to identify the parts. They're all labeled. So I'm going to start with step one, which is removing the rear camel hump. Now I'm not going to be able to give you a time amount that it takes to do this job, because with me videotaping this stuff, it's going to take me a lot longer. But I thought this would be a neat video to show you guys what goes into upgrading a frame and making it a lot more usable for an old school car. And it's a heck of a lot less expensive than doing a full chassis, a full pro touring chassis, or anything like that. So this member just in front of the, where's my finger at? So this cross member right in front of the rear axle is the first thing we're going to remove, and this thing has solid rivets that hold it in. Now, in my days working on cars, the easiest way I've ever found to remove one of these rivets is to actually cut an X through it with a cutoff tool, and then I use an air hammer to drive off the head, and then I drive the rivet through, and then it's no longer there. We'll end up cutting a section of this out, but we want to leave some of it up here so we have something to grab onto and pull it out. But you'll see all that here. I'm going to get started on that, and then we'll sandblast out the frame where we're going to install the new parts, because I want it to be clean metal on clean metal, and then we'll continue assembly. So I cut an X through the heads of the rivets, and I took my chisel for my air hammer and I actually sharpened it on my sanding wheel, because when your chisel's dull, it doesn't cut very well. When your chisel's sharp, it cuts really quick. I gotta find where I put my chisel. Oh, good thing I had my face mask on. That would have hurt. So now, we pull out our chisel, put in our straight punch, and we knock out our rivets. 2 of the rivets are done there. I got 2 more to do there, and 2 more to do on the bottom here. And then this cross member I'll cut in half and pull the whole cross member out, and then we'll be ready to move forward. So I've removed all 4 of my top rivets and driven the rivets out of the holes. Now I'm going to cut my cross member across, and then I'm probably going to cut these off, because my lower rivets, I don't have room to get the air hammer on them, at least not easily. So I'm going to cut off the top. I'm going to see if I can just pry the lower rivets out of the frame rail. They should pop right out. we'll give it a shot, see if it works. If it doesn't, then we'll figure out another way. Got both of my camel hump cross member sides off the frame. Now it's time to move on to the back. I got the rear cross member, the one that holds the spare tire, is all off except for one last piece. I'm getting ready to knock it off here shortly. And then I will clean up the areas where these braces go back in, mount those braces back in, and then I will remove this shock cross member. I don't want to remove the shock cross member yet because I don't want the back of this frame to go all wonky without cross supports. So I want to get my frame cleaned up, put in my forward and rear cross member, and this cross member is actually welded in up here, so I'm probably going to cut it out and then weld a new section in just to make it clean. It's a pretty beefy section of weld. It's about 2 inches long, about 3/4 of an inch wide. So we'll probably cut it out and then weld new metal back in and then figure out what else we need to do to put the shock cross member in. I believe the shock cross member goes in farther forward than this, but we will sort that out as we go. So I made some headway on this on Saturday. I'm back after it today and on Monday morning. So I need to remove all the radiator supports, the cab mounts, and the bed mounts off the frame. Unfortunately, GM welded these on, so they're going to take a little bit of work. I'm going to cut them off, I'll grind the welds, and then smooth out where they were welded so that my frame sides are nice and clean. And then I will move on to start installing some of the components that go on this frame to make the conversion kit. I highly recommend wearing pants when you're using a plasma cutter, because when it back sprays, that stuff hurts. So all my body mounts, my cab mounts, and my radiator supports are cut off the frame. Now I'm going to use some other tools to cut off the welds, clean up the sides of the frame. I still have to take off my bumper brackets, and I have to take off a few inches off the back of the frame, but I'll do those after I whittle away at all this stuff I gotta take off the sides of the frame rails. Once all that's done, I can start putting things back together, take off my ends, get everything cut and measured, and keep moving forward, making good progress. So I'm back to cleaning up my frame. There's a big portion of these front end caps that are going to be removed, but you can see I still need to clean away this area of the old radiator support. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then I'm going to remove all the remaining parts of the frame and body of the body mounts and the cab mounts on the side of this frame rail, and then I'll lop off this front horn where it needs to be, and then I need to trim my rear horns up a little bit as well. So keep watching, enjoy. Nice. Alright, so my front cab mount is off. I smoothed it all out, ground down the welds. What I have found is after you plasma cut this off, there's a good 1/4 inch left on the frame. So that 1/4 inch, you saw me take the cutoff wheel and make an incision all the way around. I made a score all the way around, like you would score a stone before striking it to crack it. And what it does is when I use my air chisel, it allows me to get really close to the frame, so there's a lot less grinding to do, because grinding's kind of like watching paint dry. Nobody wants to grind any more than they have to. So I was able to get that much more off by making the score and then using my air hammer to chisel all that off. And then the final amount, I just used the grinding wheel and then a flap sander to smooth it out. Turns out looking pretty good. So I have 2 more of these to go, and all the outside frame pieces will be done on this side of the frame. And then you get to do all this again on the other side. Luckily for me, I've already done it on the other side, but if this was you, you would only be 1/4 of the way towards done. So keep grinding, it's more to be done. So this middle mount supports the back of the cab and the front of the bed, and is by far the worst mount you have to remove from this frame, because it's actually seam welded all the way around on the inside of this brace. So I just scored it pretty much all the way around. I'm going to use my air hammer to chisel it off, and then whatever's left we'll grind off with grinding wheel. It's a lot of work. If you just got done doing this side, you got another half of that to go. I'm done because that side's already done. So all my body mounts are removed from the frame. I need to trim a few inches off the back on this 1/18" frame. If it was a 108 or a 124, I think is the other length frame, The backs don't need to be trimmed, but the fronts do need to be trimmed. So we're going to move up to the front, make our trims on the nose, on the front frame horns to get our brackets where they need to be. And then we'll trim our rear frame horns back so that they're the right length. And then it's time to start bolting parts onto this to make sure they're all positioned and fit in the right places. So I've mounted my front frame horn on here. I have to mark in here and across to remove all the front of this to give me my clearance for my front cross member that goes across from this mount to the other mount. The other mount, I have to drill a couple extra holes. This one just bolts right in real easy to the steering box bolts, and then I'll have to drill 2 more holes here, nuts and bolts through there. You're basically just lining up the bottom of this bracket with the front of the original frame horn, and that's what we're going to go ahead and do on the other side as well. And then we'll make our marks for where we need to cut. We'll cut off our front frame horns, make sure everything fits the way we want it to fit, and then we'll move on to the back frame rails. So we use this hole right here, and we match that up to this guy. Which is easier said than done. I win. Make the marks. And that one didn't show up. Go ahead and drill that guy. I love those step drill bits. Those things work phenomenally well. Made my mark. I'm going to make my marks on the other side so that I can cut these frame horns off. And that'll be the end of the front trimming. Let's see where I want to make the mark over here. So I've got both my brackets mounted, my holes drilled, my marks made. So now I'll get the plasma cutter out. I will cut off these frame horns. I'll remount the brackets back on the frame, make sure everything fits, make sure I've got clearance everywhere I need it. And then I'll move to the back frame rails. I got that frame horn cut off. Now it's time to move on to this one. You'll notice I'm wearing pants today. Doesn't hurt using the plasma cutter near as much when you have your legs protected. Just saying.
So as you can tell, there's a whole lot involved in this process. The Code 504 kit, excellent product, but there is a lot that you need to do. Is this doable at home? Yeah, sure, you can probably do it at home in your garage. However, what you've seen so far just in this video is about 6 days of actual work getting this frame set up the way it is, and that's in a shop with all the correct tools and know-how. So, up to you on whether or not you want to handle it yourself. We wanted to give you guys a legitimate, honest video of what is all entailed in this to get yours properly set up if you want to do this kind of a swap. So now that everything is broken down and cleaned up and everything's good to go, it's time to take all of this stuff, the frame and all of the pieces, down to Bullet Liner of Columbus. And the nice thing is here in Plain City is we happen to be kind of the mecca of automotive cool stuff in the central Ohio area. Within 5 minutes of here, we've got race car teams, we've got detailing shops, we've got high-end exotic stuff, we got all kinds of stuff. So Bullet Liner of Columbus is right down the street. We're going to take all this stuff down to them. They are going to media blast absolutely everything, so it's all nice, clean surface. We start with no rust. Then we're going to get the frame completely bullet lined and all of the Code 504 pieces painted in a beautiful satin black. That way when we put it all together, it's going to look gorgeous. That's going to be in the next episode. We're going to take all this stuff down to them, and you can see exactly how that whole process works, and then put this guy together and get ready to build this truck. So hopefully you've enjoyed this. We're going to wrap this up now. I know this has been a long one, a lot of data. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. As always, we appreciate feedback. Drop us a comment, click on that like button, click on dislike if you really want to. We would appreciate it if you didn't. And as always, click that subscribe button. Try and grow the channel. Only way we can do that, subscribers and feedback. So, we'll see you next time. We're going to get this stuff all down to Bullet Liner. And yeah, stay tuned.